EDC enthusiasts and fellow genetic modified Vikings. We're going to talk about a topic today. Chavez, my favorite, absolute favorite knife designer. But one of the topic involves some of the confusion around his knives. And even watching some other reviewers online, I see the confusion there. They're not sure what the model numbers mean, what the model names mean. And to be honest with you, it's a whole lot simpler than you think. And that's what this video is about. So after the video, if it provides any value to you, do me a favor, like it and subscribe. The YouTube algorithm only recognizes individuals and their efforts based upon the likes and subscribes and so on and so forth. So please do that. That'll help me grow the channel. And then follow me on Instagram right there. So here we go. Iconic design, iconic graphics. Chavez. That is his design. Absolutely beautiful. It's iconic. It is badass. And his knives follow suit. So let's get into the knives part. We're going to put the box away. Here we go. Now, essentially, you have there's more than two styles. I want to clarify that. But we're only going to cover these two today. You've seen the numbers thrown around, 229, the Ultramar. And basically, what 229 Ultramar means is the Riot OEM product. Prior to Riot producing these knives for Ramon, it was the 228. That is the knives that he produced in his own facility, wherever that might be. I suspect it's in New Mexico, but I'm not sure. At any rate, so the 228 was his product that he produced and designed. The 229 Ultramar is the product produced by Riot, and he started that some time ago. Close to 3 years ago, and I was able to get in on the initial releases of those, which there's a little bit of a difference now with the 229s that are produced as opposed to the first generation or second generation 229s, and that is the skull clip. The 229 new generation, which I think is the fourth or fifth, has the exterior mounted screws, whereas these, you can see here, have the interior mounted screws. And the reason for that was there were so many people that had complained they didn't like the skull clip. Yeah, Nancy boy. Enough said about that. And so he came up with a second clip, which is just a refined, simple, basic looking clip. It's not a bad looking clip. It just changes the aesthetics of the knife. But at any rate, I much prefer the original. But now we're going to come full circle. These are the two primary designs, and that is the Redencion and the Liberation. Just remember those two. Forget about the 228. Forget about the 229. We're only going to be talking about the 229 Ultramar. That is the knives produced by Riot for Ramon Chavez. So now you have the Liberation, which that's this one, and you have the Redencion, which is this one. And right off the get-go, you can see a significant difference in the overall size. If you look at the size of the clip, both of those, this one is substantially wider. It looks to be, and is very close to being, the same overall length. However, the width of the skull clip on the Redencion is significantly bigger than the Liberation. Now, you'll also notice that the thickness of the frame is more narrower on the Liberation than it is on the Redencion. The Redencion is much thicker. It's not, I should say this, it's not significant in terms of the measurements. However, in the hand, it fills the hand up substantially very quick. So that's the differences between the two. The Liberation is a little slimmer, and it doesn't feel the hand as much. The Redencion is thicker. It's broader this way. The length is the same. So now, the next is going to be, I'm going to move the microphone over, and I'm going to switch to the top down. There we go. Let's open these up. So this is the Liberation. This is my favorite in terms of ergonomics in the hand. It's perfect. But here it is. I fail it first off. I hit it with my thumb on the way out. There you are. It's very sleek. As you can see, it has a sleeker appearance to it. That is the Liberation. Now we're going to look at the Redencion. These are both drop points. Okay. Redention's got the jimping on the top of the blade as well as on the top of the frame. The Liberation does not. There is no jimping. Very sleek, very clean. Kind of reminds me of the new Redencion with the Kickstop, and we'll pull that out here in a second. But that's the two that there are, the larger size knives, for comparison. Clearly, the thickness or the height here, if you will, of the Redencion is significantly more than the Liberation. The Redencion fills the hand. Okay, I have extra large hands, and it's a big knife. It ergonomically, though, when you put this in hand and you compare it to the Liberation fits the hand a little bit better than the Redencion. But that's the difference between the two. It's a lot simpler than what it's made out to be. Now, it looks like the handle is a little bit shorter. And I don't have no, it's about the same. It is the same. I don't have the specs called up on the website, but we're just doing a direct comparison and a visual here. So there you go. You have the Liberation and the Redencion. In terms of design, in looks, aesthetics, and everything into account, the Redencion, in my opinion, is the perfect knife of all knives. This is just a badass knife. It is really, really an incredible design. And then, of course, you have the Liberation. Liberation fits the hand a little bit better. My hands, anyway. It's damn near perfect. I mean, I don't know how to make a knife better in terms of the sleekness, the simplicity, and the overall design better than the Liberation. So that's the difference between the two. Liberation, Redencion. Now, we're going to put these up here. I'm going to try and leave everything out where we can see them. There we go. Let's go with that. Pull them in a little bit closer. Perfect. Now, the next term you're going to hear is street. And what street is just simply a smaller version of that model. And here they are. This is the street of the Redencion. So now we're going to just switch to the Redencion. Here is the full-size Redencion. And here is the street size. You can clearly see the difference. Blade shapes nearly identical in terms of the shape. It's the scale that has changed. Take the Redencion and downsize it, and then you have a street. Other than that, that is the only change. Proportionally, it's just reduced. The shape is identical. The jimping is the same. The thumb stud is the same thumb stud. They didn't reduce the size of the thumb stud, but everything else is the same. Now, this is the older school Redencion, and this is the newer. That being that they're the screws are exterior mounted. I much prefer this older design because it's just uninterrupted. It versus having these studs on the clip. A lot of people call these horns, but that's too creative. They're studs. I really don't like this. And I did another video regarding my opinion on that, and there's a few ideas that Ramon could have implemented to avoid having to do this. But at any rate, so there you are. You have the Redencion full size, and then the Street, which is simply a smaller version of the Redencion. Now we're going to put those aside, and we're going to jump back to the Liberation. Here is the full-size Liberation. Then this is the smaller Liberation, but this is changed up in that this is the flipper version. So just kind of ignore the flipper on there. This is going to be the flipper version of the Liberation. So this is the Liberation Street with the flipper. As you can see, now just forget about the flipper being on there. I'm just going to put my finger there. As you can see, it's identical in overall shape. It's only the scale that has been reduced. That's it. It doesn't get any simpler than that. It's just words thrown in that represent something that we're all familiar with. So you have the Liberation full size and the Liberation Street. You have the full size Redencion and the Redencion Street. For EDC, this is my EDC, my user Chavez. It's a perfect size. It fits in the pocket really well. It's not oversized where it kind of gets in the way. The full size will tend to kind of do that. It's a big knife. It's a big boy. Big and chunky. But that's what I like about Chavez. So there you go. Redencion, Redencion Street, Liberation, Liberation Street. Now, I'm going to pull the streets out of there just for a minute, and I'm going to bring over the new Kickstop, and let's see what I got here. That's the drop point, and here is the Tonto. This is old school. This is the older clip design. And then I'm going to pull over. This is the new Kickstop. This is a great knife. If you don't have one, I recommend that you get one. There are several customizations that are available out there. Way of Knife has one. There's a number of other makers that have the customized versions of these. I kind of like just the standard look to it, just the raw titanium, but I may be purchasing one of these from Way of Knife. They have a pretty incredible fat carbon scale and a blackened blade. So, but what I want to do is just kind of show, let's pull the drop point out, and just what they did with the Kickstop is by changing the design, which I covered on another video here, what they did from the previous model, if you notice the jimping up here, they discontinued the jimping into the frame. Okay, they only have it on the blade, which I thought was a nice variant to do, a nice change. I really like the looks of this. It's really clean looking. The other reason too is if you're going to put jimping in the frame, why not continue with the jimping on the blade tang itself right there? So if you're following the jimping, it gets disrupted by the blade. So I think they should have put the jimping on the blade right there. There's nothing mechanically that would have prevented them from doing that. But what they did here is they eliminated the jimping on the top completely. And it really gives it a nice, sleek design. So it's kind of a little bit of an influence there with the Liberation, being this one right here. So I really like what they've done by eliminating that jimping up there, because you don't really, when it's in your hand, your thumb doesn't ride back here anyway. Realistically, this is where you're at. So there's no sense in there being jimping right there. So I like what they've done here. They've kind of carried over a little bit of the Liberation feel, that cleanness on the frame, and they've blended the two. They've taken this concept with the frame. They've taken the jimping from the 229 Redencion, and they've created the new version with the Kickstop that has the Liberation frame and maintaining the Redencion jimping on the blade. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. This is probably right now one of my favorites. The original Redencion is probably tops, but this is slowly, the more I play with this and look at it and inspect it, the more this I think is going to probably take over #1 spot. So there you go. That provides some feedback for you and some clarification. So you have the Redencion, and then you have the Redencion Street. So let's switch back to just the drop points. We're going to make this less confusing. Redencion, Redencion Street. Then you have the Liberation and Liberation Street. This does have the flipper. All right. Using the appropriate finger when I refer to this as the flipper. So you have the Liberation and the Liberation Street. There you go. It's pretty damn simple. I don't understand all the confusion, but I'm hoping that was helpful for you. I'm going to switch back to the full camera mode, dual camera mode. There we go. So I hope that kind of clarifies things. There's some other nuances there as it relates to some of the other models. They do come up with some other designs there. For example, on the flipper here, the Liberation, they have a flipper in a drop point. They have a Tonto, and then they also have a Warncliffe. And I'll do that on a different video. I do have a number of Chavez. I'm not flexing on this. I'm just showing you guys my collection. I'm a fanboy. There are some designs I don't like. The tack is a garbage knife, in my opinion. They take the chunkiness, the thickness that Ramon has kind of built a name on, and they carried it over into that knife. And it's just, I purchased a drop point and a Tano. I sent him back, didn't like him. And I think he wasted his time, and I think he missed it on that one. So anyway, there you go. Any questions, comments, throw them in there, guys. I appreciate it. And in the meantime, I'm done with this. Until the next video, this is Diener signing out.